presentation of the National Thoroughbred Racing Association and ESPN.
Today, it's the last stop on the road to the World Thoroughbred Championships. Keeneland Racecourse, here in the heart of the Bluegrass, Lexington, Kentucky, for the $500,000 Queen Elizabeth II Challenge Cup. It's the final Grade 1 stake in the U.S. prior to the World Thoroughbred Championships. Two-star fillies from opposite sides of the pond meet on the lawn here today. The Bobby Frankel-trained Spoken Fur, who nearly swept New York's Triple Tiara earlier this season. And Casual Look, winner of the English Oaks, making her American debut. Joining them, a rising star from New York, recent Grade 1 winner, Indy 500. It's down to one race to see who continues on to the World Thoroughbred Championships.
The road to the World Thoroughbred Championships. Powered by Dodge.
Kentuckians will tell you any day at historic Keeneland is a beautiful day, but even a first-time visitor would agree with 78-degree weather and sunny skies. On this day in 1936, over 15,000 came out to this track just to get a glimpse of the new facility. And over 20,000 were here 4 days later as Keeneland started more than a racing meet. They began an autumn tradition here in Kentucky. A crowd approaching over 24,000 is on hand today as we bring you live coverage of the Queen Elizabeth II Challenge Cup, the final stop on the way to the World Thoroughbred Championships. Good afternoon, everyone. Kenny Rice along with Randy Moss. Glad that you are with us today. We're just 2 weeks away, 14 mere days, Randy, until we go to the World Thoroughbred Championships, but still enough time to get that final ticket punch to see who goes on to California and the filly and mare division, which has become quite a competitive division in its mere 4 years running so far. It's grown by leaps and bounds.
It has. It's the newest of all the Breeders' Cup races. It's always been popular with the trainers, big fields every year, and for that reason it's also been a good betting race, but it just hasn't seemed to have the same cachet as some of the other Breeders' Cup races. That is rapidly changing. Last year, 2002 at Arlington, the filly and mare turf had an outstanding field. Golden Apples, defending champion Banks Hill, Islington, and that gray filly Starine, who won it as a long shot for Bobby Frankel. Frankel actually finished 1-2 in the race. This year's filly and mare turf promises to be the best yet. An outstanding field shaping up, and Frankel has a strong hand again this year. Bobby's expected to have 3 starters, including this one. Tate's Creek coming off this win in the yellow ribbon. This was Frankel's 22nd win this year in a Grade 1. That's the official designation for the very best races in the country. That tied the American record. He broke it last week with number 23, but now there's the world record. Irish trainer Aidan O'Brien won 23 Group 1 races in '91. Frankel has 2 in today in the Queen Elizabeth, the Grade 1. He could break the world record with a win here.
You think about some Breeders' Cup races that are almost designed for trainers like Wayne Lucas and Bob Baffert with the juveniles. When they started the filly and mare turf, I think many people thought this is right up the alley for Bobby Frankel. He had all those great turf runners back in the 90s, and as we look now at who might be coming the way of the World Thoroughbred Championship in the Breeders' Cup filly and mare turf, what a surprise. 1, 2, and 3, Bobby Frankel.
Yeah, now this gets complicated. This is as it stands today. If more than 14 horses are entered in a Breeders' Cup race, 14 is the limit. This is how it's figured. The top 7 are calculated, automatically get in according to graded stakes points earned during the year. Among the likely starters in this race, those are the top 7 on points right now. Frankel 1, 2, 3. The next 7 would be chosen by a selection committee. Most of the Europeans fall into that category. The top 5 there, all Europeans. Now, right now, only 14 are pointing for this race, but that doesn't include Queen Elizabeth horses. If any of the races, any of the horses from our race today go to the filly and mare turf, then the points and the invitations come into play.
Well, this race has produced at least 1 starter in 3 of the first 4 Breeders' Cup filly and mare turf races, including 2 last year. So as we said earlier, it is never too late. They always have competitive fields here, never less than 8 at any of the 19 previous runnings. We have 10 running today, and to take a closer look at our Queen Elizabeth II Challenge Cup field, let's go to the paddock and Janine Edwards.
Well, Kenny, with this $500,000 purse and Grade 1 status, the Queen Elizabeth II is certainly a race that enhances the resume and the value of any filly, especially once in the breeding shed. But it's also earning a growing reputation as sort of a showcase of future stars. Fillies like Golden Apples, Ryafan, Perfect Sting, Memories of Silver, and possibly Perfect all ran in this race on their way to noteworthy careers, and for 4 of them, an Eclipse Award along the way. Well, the field for today's renewal is heavily accomplished. 8 of the 10 in this field are already graded stakes winners. 3 of them have earned Grade 1s. The most intriguing filly in the race, though, is Spoken Fur. She's never raced on or even breezed on the grass for trainer Bobby Frankel. She's a 2-time Grade 1 winner, having 2 legs of New York's Triple Tiara. Bobby will also put the saddle on Personal Legend, who's coming off a good 3rd-place effort in the Del Mar Oaks. Now, Maiden Tower has never been worse than 2nd in 7 starts in France. And Casual Look has the same connections and career path as leading older horse Mineshaft, an American bred who began her racing career in Europe for owner-breeder Will Farish. Now back in the States with Neil Howard, she won the Grade 1 Epsom Oaks in June. And Indy 500 motored home with an explosive win in the Grade 1 Garden City Breeders' Cup last time out. Well, as Randy mentioned, not only is Bobby Frankel going for the world record of 24 Grade 1 wins for the year, but he is also embarking on something of a personal milestone this weekend as well. After the races here this evening at Keeneland, he will get on a plane, head back to Maryland, where he is getting married tomorrow. Kenny?
Thanks, Janine. Congratulations. Best wishes, Bobby. Coming up, we will go to France to take a look back at the Prix de l'Opera, a race that has produced 2 European runners who are coming to California to take on the world.
The road to the World Thoroughbred Championships. Powered by Dodge. This ESPN presentation of the Queen Elizabeth Challenge is brought to you by Dodge. You can take life as it comes, or you can grab life by the horns. By Citgo, we know you. By Budweiser, the best things in life are the things that are true. Budweiser. By Daily Racing Form, the most trusted name in racing. By Long John Silver's. Boatloads of seafood are back.
And who's going, who's not going? Who are the stories to follow in the World Thoroughbred Championships? Log on to ESPN.com horse racing and check out our special Breeders' Cup section to keep you up to date daily, all the way to the World Thoroughbred Championships in 2 weeks. And a reminder, next week, be sure to log on and play the Pick 6 presented by Digiturf. And welcome back to Keeneland, where we're about 39 minutes away from live racing with 3-year-old fillies here on the turf in the Queen Elizabeth II Challenge Cup. Right now, though, Randy, we're going to take our audience back to last Sunday in France for an important race in terms of the filly and mare turf division, just 2 weeks away now on Breeders' Cup Day.
It was called the Prix de l'Opera, run on the undercard of the let's try that again. The Arc de Triomphe at Longchamp outside of Paris.
Yeah, just like that.
There you go.
That's it.
If you're a dedicated fan, you probably already know who won, so you can watch this race again, paying particularly close attention to the 2 out of this race that we're going to run here in the Breeders' Cup. That would be number 4, Bright Sky, the 5-4 favorite in the Prix de l'Opera, because she won this race by 4 lengths in 2002. And you'll also want to keep a close eye on yesterday, number 6, the winner of the Irish 1000 Guineas, trained by Aidan O'Brien. If you don't know who won it, kick back and enjoy an unbelievably exciting race at one of the world's great racing venues.
And here it is at 1.25 miles.
And away they go. Just a little bit slow to stride was from Barker as they leave the gates then, and in the early strides of it, Precious Pearl is just bustled along to come through and take the lead. Butterfly Blue and Sweet Folly towards the outside of these, and just in behind these is Bright Sky. Commerçant up on the outside. Yesterday is settled well back in the field now, and just in 3rd place in the early strides is Christophe Soumillon on board Next Gina. But the lead as they settle down is with Precious Pearl, the pace setter for Bright Sky. She leads up from Butterfly Blue, showing in 2nd place. Next Gina against the rails in 3rd. Commerçant is on the outside of that and racing in 4th. Sweet Folly and Bright Sky, the next couple of runners, racing in 5th and 6th places as they begin the turn inside the final 7 furlongs. Anna Marie next in the field from yesterday. ZZ Top is well back behind them. Also, Nash Run Rose towards the back of the field, and Trumbacher is last of all, well off the pace as they come to the full straight, with Precious Pearl leading by a length still to Butterfly Blue in second place. Next, Gina's 1 length behind this in third from Commerçant, who shows on the outside in fourth. With the nosebound, Bright Skies on the inside of the track. She's travelling comfortably at the moment in fifth. Sweet follows towards the outside of her. Then comes Anna Marie. Yesterday's in an unpromising position, trapped against the rails at the moment. And then comes ZZ Top as they begin the run down the straight. And next, Gina has come through against the rails. Bright Sky with a noseband moving into second. Anna Marie also nosebanded on the outside with Commerçant. Sweet Folly and Trumbacher, the next two from Nash Run Road. Bright Sky has just taken the lead as they head down inside the final 300 metres. Anna Marie on the outside is challenging her. ZZ Top and Yesterday coming from the back of the field with Trumbacher. Bright Sky in front, she's getting weary. ZZ Top and also Yesterday and Trumbacher are flying out as they race up towards the line. And in the centre, ZZ Top with on the outside Yesterday, Bright Sky, Trumbacher, Anna Marie. Next, Gina was behind those, and they were followed in by Nash Run Road. Very tight thing here. Almost certainly go to the judge.
What in the name of Billy Gibbons? ZZ Top wins La Opera in France last
You
week.
couldn't tell by the replay there, but ZZ Top actually has long white whiskers coming off her nose now. But ZZ Top is not supposed to run in the Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Turf. She won't run, but there is Yesterday at the back and Bright Sky, who made what some observers thought was a premature move there with jockey Dominique Beauf. Yesterday wound up losing by just a head to ZZ Top with that closing kick on the outside in the Black Silks, and Bright Sky lost by just a head and a neck. So two fillies coming out of one of the world's best races for fillies and mares on the turf, who easily could make a splash in the Breeders' Cup. Yesterday is a daughter of a mare named Jude. You Beatles fans, I never would tease you like that. That's actually the truth. And again, both Yesterday and Bright Sky Breeders' Cup bound.
And Michael Stout, by the way, who's twice won the Breeders' Cup Turf, training ZZ Top, who we won't see for a while, at least not in the States, as we take a look at the final order finish there with the 14-to-1 shot coming out on top. Again, the second and third horse we will see, though, at the World Thoroughbred Championships in the Filly and Mare Turf Division. Which brings us now to the world rankings, Randy, as we take a look at who is number one. Another European, Islington, is on top.
And you see number 5 there, Yesterday and Bright Sky, tied for 5th with a few other horses in the rankings. Big news, Islington, the number 1 ranked in the world, is now officially pointing again for the Filly and Mare Turf. She was 3rd in the race last year, coming off that strong 3rd behind High Chaparral and Foul Brav in the Irish champions.
Of course, the Breeders' Cup World Thoroughbred Championship is racing's richest day, with 8 races taking place at the Oak Tree Meet at Santa Anita in just 14 days. But that is not the only venue hosting a Breeders' Cup Championship. For more on that, here again, Janine Edwards.
Well, that's right, Kenny. Actually, the Breeders' Cup races technically get underway next Saturday in, of all places, New Jersey. That's when the Grade 1 Breeders' Cup steeplechase will be run. It's a 2 5/8 mile testing contest over 14 jumps. And 12 horses were nominated to this year's renewal, though 2 of the top horses in the division, Trey Touche and Praise the Prince, are out with injuries. We have 2 hot jumpers that are running for the division right now. An offer you can't refuse may or may not make the race for 3-time champion trainer Tom Voss. Indispensable is rounding into form for leading trainer Jack Fisher. He's coming off a strong win in the Legacy Cup. McDynamo has won all 3 of his races this year for Sana Hendricks. He should be the favorite. Trebizond won 2 Grade 1s earlier this summer. And Pelagos also has a Grade 1 win this year for trainer Bruce Miller. Well, McDynamo certainly will be the horse to watch in the Breeders' Cup steeplechase on Saturday. He was a yearling that was purchased right here at Keeneland, and his last win came right here at Keeneland as well. This is back in April in the Royal Chase Handicap. This was his 3rd win of the year, and here he closes ground strongly to defeat Shamrock Isle and Praise the Prince. He is 6 for 8 lifetime over jumps, and he's a perfect 2 for 2 at Far Hills, so he should be heavily respected in Saturday's race. Another one to watch is Trebizond. Now watch him take the second to last fence. Ooh, he's a little leg weary there in the Meadowbrook Hurdle. That was back in June, but he gets up to win the race nonetheless. That was a Grade 1 event. He hasn't fared quite as well versus Open Company as he did versus novice hurdlers, but he is the leading earner this year with $140,000 in earnings for Catherine Nielsen. And then one other horse to watch in here, we'll take a look at Indispensable. Indispensable is coming off a win in the Legacy Cup, but prior to that race, he ran a strong third in the Grade 1 New York Turf Riders. Here he is about to reel in Trey Touche and Praise the Prince. Certainly a horse that is rounding into form. He's just going to get up here in a blanket finish in the green and white striped silks. And he did follow that up by defeating 6 of the horses he will face Saturday in the Legacy Cup at Shawan Downs. Now, the Breeders' Cup Steeplechase is a race that plays a significant role in determining champion steeplechase horse. And if McDynamo can pull off a win, he's a lock to win the Eclipse Award. Well, to find out who does win the Breeders' Cup Steeplechase, tune into Long John Silver's Wire to Wire, a special Thursday edition. We'll have taped coverage of the Breeders' Cup Steeplechase on October 23rd at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Kenny?
All right, Janine. Now, of course, the rest of the Breeders' Cup races will be run at the Oak Tree meeting at Santa Anita. This will mark the 3rd time the track has been host to the Breeders' Cup. And the very first time, back in 1986, was a special day for the winningest jockey of all time.
When I got to the paddock, Wayne told me, I said, listen, just bounce him out of there and see what's happened. You know, if he breaks good and you can go on, just go ahead. And he did everything right.
His biggest win was yet to come in the Classic.
I rode the horse with a lot of confidence today. I was very high on him. I knew it'd be tough to beat today. He's very close to the rail, but I didn't want to take him out of the rail because he was running nice, and I knew right here that I was going to win easy.
And Skywalker, an upset winner with Pinkai aboard to win the 3rd Breeders' Cup Classic.
We got along good, you know, and I hope the luck continues.
World Thoroughbred Champions is brought to you by Oak Tree Racing. The meet runs through November 9th. For more, log on to oaktreeracing.com. We put the focus back on our live racing coming up here at Keeneland. When we come back, we will meet the field for the Queen Elizabeth II Challenge Cup. And log on to NTRA.com to play the Breeders' Cup Challenge, a chance to win cash and prizes. NTRA.com. Welcome back to Keeneland in Lexington, Kentucky, 24 minutes away from live racing, the Queen Elizabeth II Challenge Cup. Close to 24,000 here today under sunny skies and 78 degrees with a firm turf awaiting our 10 3-year-old fillies. And speaking of Queen Elizabeth, there she is, accompanied by former president of Keeneland and the president of the Breeders' Cup, Ted Bassett. She visited the track here for the inaugural running in 1984 on this day, 19 years ago, meeting with, among others, Seth Hancock of Claiborne Farm, and thus the name, the Queen Elizabeth II. They actually named it for her. She was coming over to visit with Will Farish, now the ambassador to Great Britain. She came here. They said, Queen's in town. You got to take advantage of those opportunities, don't you? Name a race for her.
And they're still running the Queen Elizabeth, and it's now a Grade 1 race, so it was a wise decision by Keeneland.
$500,000 purse. Now let's take a look at the field, Randy. And in this one, number 1 is Spoken Fur, trained by Bobby Frankel, making her debut on the turf, a multiple Grade 1 winner on the dirt.
Owned by John Ammerman and his wife Jerry. John, the former CEO of Mattel, ridden by Kentucky regular Cornelio Velasquez.
And Frankel has another one in here. Personal Legend. She hasn't won since breaking her maiden by 11 1/4 lengths back in May.
As opposed to Spoken Fur, Personal Legend does have plenty of turf experience, owned by Ed Gann, who yesterday turned 80 years old. He has 3 horses pointing for the Breeders' Cup: Medaglia d'Oro, Peace Rules, and Midas Eyes.
Maiden Tower, 1 of 2, making her U.S. debut today. The Great Britain bred won a Group 2 in France.
Nice looking form. Second in the French 1,000 guineas. Never been worse than second. But European shippers straight into this race are 1 for 24 so far.
Bred in Dubai is number 4, Champsy Fells. In the U.S. debut for her, she was 3rd in the Grade 1 Garden City last month.
She is now trained by Christophe Clement, the Frenchman, who is a past winner of the QE2. Campsie Fells, named after an area of scenic hills in Scotland.
And number 5 is Sand Springs, won the Grade 2 Lake Placid 2 races back, 3rd in her only start over this course.
1 of 2 in this race, owned by Peter Wilmot, trained by Tony Reinstetler. Sand Springs, a confirmed front runner. She'll try to set the pace and go wire to wire. And the other Reinstetler horse is
Odd, who was not invited to this race, comes in as a last-minute replacement on Tuesday, but is the winner of the Grade 3 Pucker Up at Arlington.
They'll wear the same gold and purple Wilmot silks, but they'll be easy to separate. Sand Springs on the lead, Odd from way back in the pack. Brian Peck will be the jockey.
Number 7 is the Kentucky-bred Casual Look, who is making her U.S. debut. She's run in Ireland, Great Britain, and France, and won the Group 1 English Oaks.
Yeah, she's a classic winner. Actually, 30-year-old first-year English trainer Andrew Balding is the trainer of record for this race, and Neil Howard will take over after this, it is said.
The hot horse is number 8, Indy 500, from an allowance winner in April to a Grade 1 winner last month in the Garden City.
And she pounded Dimitrova in this race, who came back to win the Flower Bowl. Ed Gann turned 80 yesterday. Pat Day, birthday wishes also Monday. He will turn the big 5-0.
Filmmaker. You know, they shot some of Seabiscuit here. Filmmaker, though, she is second and third in 2 tries over the Keeneland course. Won the Grade 3 Lake George.
Also very consistent. Never finished worse than third in 8 lifetime starts. Trained by Gray Emotion, owned by Donald Adam. Edgar Prado in from New York to ride.
Number 10 is Ocean Drive. Favored in all 7 of her career starts. She has won 5 of them and is 2 for 2 here at Keeneland.
She won't be the favorite today, though. Right now in early betting, she is 8-1. She's got excellent form, but she hasn't run since July. She was a little anemic coming off her last race. A loss to Filmmaker, but Todd Pletcher, her trainer, says she's doing very well right now.
And we take a look at the odds right here. Maiden Tower is at 9-2. Indy 500 at 2-1. Expected to go off as the favorite in this race. Only Campsie Fells a really long shot, along with Odd, in what is expected to be, as usual, a very competitive race. This week on Full Patrol, it's all about Bobby Frankel again. He trained Tate's Creek, of course. She has won 7 graded stakes and over $1 million in her career so far. She is out of the mare Viviana. And Viviana earlier this year produced a foal by Rahi. The colt is a full brother to the millionaire Tate's Creek and a half brother to another Frankel trainee, Sightseek, who has won her last 4 starts. Maybe this little guy will be destined for greatness as well. The Full Patrol, brought to you by Claiborne Farm. You can visit Claiborne Farm in person in Kentucky or log on to claibornefarm.com.
The road to the World Thoroughbred Championships. Powered by Dodge.
Welcome back to Keeneland in Lexington, Kentucky. And remember, for all the latest in racing news, check in with Randy Moss and Jeff Metters, Lone John Silver's Wire to Wire, Tuesday at 2 Eastern on ESPN2, or get up really early Saturday morning at 5:30 a.m. and catch it on ESPN. World Thoroughbred Special, Saturday, October 25th, 12:30 a.m. Randy Moss, the Hammer comes in, Hank Goldberg, Andy Beyer, and Jay Pribman getting their kicks along Route 66. That's 12:30 a.m. First show about the Breeders' Cup will be then. Well, that's 9:30 in prime time, Pacific time. We're about 17 minutes away from the race as you look in the paddock, which could get interesting today. Some precocious young ladies down there. We'll hear more about that in just a few moments. But first, it is time to take a stroll along that silver memory lane from Long John Silver's. And this is Perfect Sting, trained by Joe Orsino. She came to Keeneland in 1999 for the Queen Elizabeth II.
Charmant set down for the drive. Perfect Sting is still there, but we'll have to find more. Charmant, very game toward the rail. Perfect Sting makes a final run at her, and the Queen Elizabeth II Challenge Cup to Perfect Sting.
Ridden to victory by Pat Day. She went on to be 6th in the inaugural Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf, but came back in 2000 to win the Filly and Mare Turf. Our silver memory, Perfect Sting, who sired by Red Ransom, as is the number 7 horse here today, Casual Look, bred in Kentucky but making her debut in the United States. Currently, she is at 7-1, a little higher than opening up at 9-2 as she did in the morning line.
She looks pretty good in the paddock. One of the reasons her owner, Will Farish, brought her over from England is because he is a friend of the Queen of England. You saw the clip from Queen Elizabeth in '84. She actually stayed at Farish's farm, Lane's Inn Farm in Versailles, not far from here. He had this filly over there that was doing well, so why not bring her over here and run her in the Queen Elizabeth? He's only had one other horse in this race before a long time ago and finished 2nd.
He doesn't show up too often for this, as you said, Randy, and when he does, he usually means business. We'll see if she runs a good race today. A lot of more questions to ask, especially with Mineshaft on the sideline, who was the star coming out of Lane's End area, and will not be running, of course, now because of injury in the Breeders' Cup Classic. Perhaps today, if Casual Look does well, we might see her in the Filly and Mare Turf. And there is Bobby Frankel. He's everywhere where there's a Grade 1 race. If he wins this one, he will set the world record, tied with Aidan O'Brien with 23 Grade 1 stakes victories. There is Spoken Fur, multiple Grade 1 winner, almost swept the Triple Tiara in New York. This is her first race, though, on the turf. And now let's go down and check out the paddock with Janine.
Well, Kenny, I'm keeping my eye on number 3 here, Maiden Tower, the French filly. She hasn't run since June, and she was giving her groom quite a bit of a hard time, and he had to have an extra handler come in and take a hold of her. So now she has 2 handlers walking her around. She is definitely feeling good here in the paddock. We were waiting for Casual Look to perhaps have some antics here, but so far she's been very well behaved, number 7, Casual Look. Although the last 3 mornings she hasn't been so good. She has dumped her exercise rider 3 mornings in a row. It's taken this filly a little bit of a time to get used to the American style of training with all the horses on the racetrack going in different directions, coming at them. That's something that they don't see over in Europe, where they gallop over those wide open gallops and they only go in one direction. And the other horse there that just went by, number 8, Indy 500, there she is. Indy 500 has been quite a handful to train for trainer Bobby Barbera. She's a nervous filly. She's taken a lot of time, a lot of patience. He's worked with her in the mornings, and she has schooled over here in the afternoon as well. She just shipped in yesterday and schooled yesterday afternoon, shipping in from New York. But she is very composed and showing her manners, and Bobby's very pleased with how this filly has matured and developed over the last several months.
Thanks, Janine. Indy 500 right now, the 9-5 favorite. Will Lexington turn into the Indy 500 day? We're about 12 minutes away from live racing here at Keeneland. More when we return. The horses in the walking ring here getting ready to come over at Keeneland, as we're about 10 minutes away from the 20th running of the Queen Elizabeth II Challenge Cup. Grade 1 race with a $500,000 purse, and perhaps 1 or 2 coming out of this to move on to the World Thoroughbred Championships in just 2 weeks in California. You know, to win 1 Breeders' Cup race is certainly something to remember, but to repeat as a champ is historic. Breeders' Cup Classic 18, New York's Belmont Park. Classic champ Tisnow returns to defend his title.
And the field turns for home. Saki in their lead, and Tisnow is battling on. The American Horse of the Year and the Arc winner are heads apart with a furlong to go in the Classic. On the outside, Saki. Tisnow fights on. Here's the wire, desperately close. Tisnow wins it for America.
With a final burst of acceleration, Tisnow denies European Saki the $4 million Classic, becoming the only back-to-back winner. Tisnow, today's Dodge Hemi winning performance. You see some of the almost 24,000 people here today. Temperature in the upper 70s. It's actually hot at times. The sun has popped out. A beautiful day on this, the second weekend of the fall meet at Keeneland. It's always a special time, but it's now even more special as it's become a key stop on the road to the World Thoroughbred Championships. The horses are in the walking ring, about to come out onto the track. We're about 8 minutes away from live racing. We'll have more on the Queen Elizabeth II Challenge Cup when we return to Lexington, Kentucky.